Things are definitely looking bullish for Bitcoin here on the daily chart. In this video, we're going to dive through a couple of different things that are occurring for Bitcoin and why I am so bullish on BTC in the month of October. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done that way, let's dive right into this daily chart and talk through what's going on here with BTC. As we can see, this is a daily chart that has the high in our third wave, that was actually set up here in the 14th of April. We then had this correction come down in a fourth wave, and this actually bottomed out on the 22nd of June. This came in about $28,800. Okay, so when we take into consideration that kind of performance, we can see that there is a Fibonacci retracement tool with some pretty interesting extensions. The 4.236, that full extension, comes in at $181,500. So a pretty bullish kind of outlook there, just based on the Fibonacci extension levels. The 1.618 comes in at 87k, the 2.618 comes in at 123k, the 3.618 comes in at 159k. But I'm not here to talk about the Fibonacci retracement tools. In fact, there's a couple of things I think that are well worth kind of bringing to everyone's attention, and a few patterns that I think have maybe been overlooked. The first thing that we're going to start with, guys, is going to be an inverse head and shoulders. If I grab my head and shoulders pattern here, we can see that pretty much from the beginning of our pullback, we can see that we had a left shoulder forming. We then had the head, which was of course our low point during that pullback, coming back up to the right-hand side, the right-hand shoulder here, forming that down during the month of September, and then obviously just completing this just below or just above the 618 on that Fibonacci chart. And then obviously from here, we move on up. So an inverse head and shoulders is a very bullish sentiment. Basically, you have your left, your head, shoulder, and then obviously when you get back to this neckline, you move up to the upside. Likewise, when you have a head and shoulder in the reverse of this, so the regular head and shoulders, you push down, okay? So an inverse is very bullish, and again, looks like we are moving to the upside. Okay, so inverse head and shoulders pattern has been forming here on the daily pretty much since the top of wave 3. The other pattern that I've been speaking about recently as well is the cup and handle. Here we can see there's a good cup for Bitcoin, pulling down to the handle on the right hand side and then surging up to the upside. Right now, this is targeting $67,000. Now, timing is usually the hardest thing to gauge, but this is a kind of rough area that I do anticipate occurring for Bitcoin in the month of October. And very much in line with Plan B, his stock to flow model, he's kind of predicting out there a 63k level. Okay, so again, we could just fall short, just coming up to the previous all-time high and maybe getting rejected from there, but completing this cup and handle nonetheless. The other thing with the cup and handle pattern, guys, is it is only 60 to 70% accurate, but couple this with an inverse head and shoulders, and things are definitely looking pretty bullish. Of course, there is a trend line as well from the top of our wave 3, pulling down into the wave 4 lows and then retesting this area just at the kind of beginning of September before the September pullback, that self-fulfilling prophecy. This downward trend was then retested just over here at the latter part of September, beginning of October, and we broke it, pushing through, completely invalidating this downward trend. So another bullish tail and things that are looking pretty good from that kind of perspective. Now, the other thing that's also worth kind of pointing out and noting is an ABC correction wave. A lot of people who I've been reading have been talking about an ABC correction on a big scale here for Bitcoin. Pulling down with A from the top of wave 3 to the bottom of wave 4, pushing up during the month of August, entering into September would be wave B, and then everyone anticipating a push down to about $20,000 or so for Bitcoin in this C wave, right? The correction, the ABC correction to the downside. Of course, they have actually now pushed higher than wave B, which should invalidate this ABC correction. So again, another pretty bullish sentiment here for Bitcoin, not actually following an ABC correction. We have broken that downward trend, looking pretty good to the upside. We have an inverse head and shoulders, and we also have a cup and handle. Everything's looking pretty bullish to push us up to the upside for BTC. But we can go a little bit deeper than just this. As we can take a look at the Fibonacci retracement tool, the key areas on the Fibonacci retracement tool are of course the 618, the 702, and the 786. When we consider the three of these areas, we see the first breaching into the 618, pushing above and testing and holding the 702. Right now, today, we have pierced through that 786, that key area of $57,000. $786,000. Okay, so that 786 is a key area for Bitcoin. Getting a closed candle, preferably weekly, which is not a good start to the week being a Monday right now, but if we have a good week with Bitcoin and we stay above that 786 all week long and we get a weekly close candle above there come the weekend, we should be in a very good position next week as well for Bitcoin. Everything's looking pretty good if we do keep a hold and stay above the 786. There is, of course, one small problem, and that is when we take a look at the history of where we were earlier in the year. We can see that we were battling this area of the 786 quite heavily after the initial pullback in April. Pushing back up into here around May and then getting rejected from this 786 area. Okay, so right now there's lots of resistance right where we are, and it's going to be difficult to kind of get good ground covered here. But if we can manage to keep good hold firm of this area all week long and we get a weekly close in this position, we should be looking pretty good for the following weeks, and of course targeting that 67k cup and handle end goal. So everything's looking pretty good on the charts from the daily perspective. And what I'm going to do now, guys, is actually just jump us over to the advice.io dashboard. The advice.io dashboard helps us understand a little bit more of detail and data of the of Bitcoin, right? And there is a link in the description down below if you're not familiar with advice.io. Do sign up; it's completely free, and you're going to get a lot more clarity on what is going on with that underlying data. For advice.io, their mission is to basically provide you with an unbiased way to understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. So we're going to dive into a little bit of detail here on BTC. We're going to see that we have an B1 rating overall for Bitcoin. So things have been definitely looking pretty good. No overall change, but when we jump down into the detail of this, we can see a few minor adjustments. We can see that Fear and Greed Index is now at a B2 rating. No longer is it extremely fearful. Instead, it's more of a neutral position. This is something that I do think we are likely to start seeing a good push to the upside on as we start to get above that 786 area and stay above $57,500. So right now, this is looking pretty good at neutral, but we're expecting it to kind of steadily move its way back up into that greedy area. Again, we can take a look at some additional pieces of information here. We have a Sharpe ratio. The Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating. The A2 rating is the second best that this platform can give a cryptocurrency. And as a result, that Sharpe ratio, which is your risk-reward ratio, is indicating that actually you might want some exposure to Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin's looking pretty good from a risk-reward ratio, as in the rewards outweigh the risks. We are well above the 50-day average on that Sharpe ratio, and A2 rating is pretty good solid from this artificial intelligence and machine learning platform. As we come on down, we can see the moving averages are also up an A2. So again, there's no problem with those moving averages for Bitcoin. As we continue coming down here, we can see the AMI-HAD ratio is a C2. This is the only issue that we have here with Bitcoin at the moment, and that is the liquidity for BTC. So right now, there is some problems with the liquidity for Bitcoin. And again, this could hinder and obviously support a little bit in regards to the price discovery and protection right now. But ultimately, we are looking to see if we can improve that liquidity. And I think as soon as we start to have some more traction with Bitcoin currently above that 57k area, that should actually bring some confidence back into the market to add some liquidity to BTC, and we'll definitely start to see hopefully some good traction with Bitcoin moving further forward. So overall, the only issue that we actually have with this underlying data for Bitcoin is the liquidity, and once that actually gets resolved, I do think we're going to start seeing some pretty good traction with Bitcoin overall. But it's nice to see that the Fear and Greed Index has now become neutral rather than fearful, and the Sharpe ratio is indicating that we might want to have some exposure to BTC. Now, guys, it's worth pointing out that I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris, so it's important that you do your own research. Do sign up to advice.io, get into that data and understand exactly what they're trying to provide you with. An unbiased way using machine learning and artificial intelligence to help you understand the underlying value of your cryptocurrencies. Couple that data with the charts here and you should be good to go. Obviously, I'm going to jump down now to the hourly chart where we can take a look at the most recent price action. Now here we can see the yellow box area. This yellow box area is the 618, the 702, and the 786 area of the Fibonacci chart, right? Just highlighted for you. So basically starting at $51,000 up to that $57,000 target, okay? So we can see that we are just above here trying to turn it into a good support line. The stochastic RSI is just coming out of the overbought area. And if we throw the volumes on here, we can see that the volumes are decreasing, okay? So basically as we sideways trade here and lower our stochastic, it's good to see that the volumes have been decreasing. If the volumes can stay nice and low whilst we completely wipe out the momentum of our stochastic, we'll be in a pretty good position to grow that stochastic from oversold to overbought and hopefully see some volume come back in here with that liquidity issue being resolved. And as a result of that, we should then start to see ourselves steadily moving up towards our target of $67,000 in the month of October, beginning of November. Overall, everything's looking pretty good. I did want to kind of just do a video to say that we are now in this key battling zone. Obviously, this is an area of major consolidation previously before we had the major pullback with Bitcoin, so do expect lots of resistance around here, maybe just turning this into a really good solid support level until that stochastic and sentiment in the space really does allow us to continue a good surge to the upside. Overall, Bitcoin's looking very bullish, as I was indicating at the beginning of this video. There are many bullish patterns here on Bitcoin: an inverse head and shoulders, cup and handle, the breach of a downward trend line. Everything is indicating that Bitcoin should be on a nice steady rise in the month of October. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.